If you've experienced any kind of diet trauma in the past, your brain is likely working overtime to keep you safe, showing up as mediocre thinking and actions, which results in mediocre living. Diet trauma could include those times when you felt like you were starving, moody as heck, or when you lost weight, loved how you felt, and enjoyed the compliments, only to gain it back later, bringing along the shame and blame. So, it's no surprise that your brain's lower primal part is just doing its job by warning you of discomfort and danger. That lower brain is always on alert to protect you. But here's the thing. It doesn't have the executive thinking abilities of your prefrontal cortex, which is a part of your brain responsible for decision-making, planning, and long-term thinking. Left unchecked, the primal brain takes over. This is where the safe, let's play it small mentality kicks in, and suddenly mediocrity starts feeling comfortable, even though deep down you know there's more you want to experience. Playing it safe might be the very thing that's keeping you stuck. As life goes on, we gather experiences, some pleasant and some painful, and we decide to take fewer risks. We stop pushing ourselves as much because failure feels more significant each time it happens. That's why today I'm calling out the ways this play it safe, in air quotes, mentality sneaks in, even when we think we're doing the right thing. Some of these examples might surprise you. They seem like great choices, but they could be lowering your quality of life without you even realizing it. Welcome to episode 103, Playing It Safe with Your Health. Here's the problem. Hi, I'm Clarinda, and you are listening to the Feel Light Mind and Body podcast, created for women like you. Women who are experiencing success in so many areas of life, but are struggling with weight loss, stress eating, and decreased energy. Losing weight can feel hard, heavy, and restrictive. That's why every week I will be offering you a different perspective, tips, encouragement, and a unique approach so that you can feel lighter in your mind and body rather than feeling deprived, frustrated, or discouraged. What if you could feel free, yet in control around food for the rest of your life? What if you could enjoy your experience of losing weight and getting healthier? You absolutely can. You're in the right place. Take this time for yourself and let's dive in. Have you ever found yourself saying something like this? I'm just going to keep active with walking or workouts and try to eat better. I'll do the best I can, and that's better than not trying at all. You might be thinking, Clarinda, what's wrong with that? It sounds pretty positive. And you're right. On the surface, there's nothing inherently wrong with that statement. Yes, it's great that you're not being hard on yourself. You've probably been there, done that too many times. But let's think about this. If you're doing these things now, and you're not at your healthiest weight or energy level, will continuing this approach really get you where you want to be? So that statement, while it feels safe, keeps you in the comfort zone. When you say, I'll do the best I can, what does that look like? Is it specific enough? These kinds of vague, well-meaning thoughts can feel good at the moment, but they also allow your brain to do the bare minimum. Your brain loves vague because it lets you off the hook. It feels like you're doing something without requiring measurable action or accountability. It's not enough to do the best you can if it's not quantifiable. What does your best look like? Is it walking 10,000 steps a day? Is it meal prepping for the next day? Is it getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night? We need to define what we're aiming for. Otherwise, our brain will default to doing just enough to stay comfortable. And here's another layer. Doing the best I can isn't consistent. Some days, your best might look great, but on other days when you're stressed or tired, that best might not even resemble a real effort. It's subjective. Your perception of it depends on your mood, the time of day, or even what someone said to you that morning. This is why setting standards is so important. Let's talk a minute about setting a standard for this season of your life. What if instead of vague goals, You decide that for this chapter of your life, your standard is to move your body for 30 minutes a day, no matter what. Or maybe your standard is to eat meals that are 80 to 85% nutritious, allowing space for indulgent without guilt. These standards are non-negotiable. They keep you accountable when motivation dips. I'm not talking about perfectionism here. I'm talking about creating clear, sustainable, supportive goals that serve you at this stage in life. Maybe it's even about setting a new standard for how you'll handle the holiday season this year. When you set a standard, you activate the part of your brain that's capable of long-term thinking. You know it, the prefrontal cortex. This part of your brain has your best interest in mind. It doesn't play small. It wants to support you in achieving what you deserve, not just what feels comfortable. And by the way, when we talk about these goals or standards, the language we use really matters. Let me share a real-life example. At the end of a recent group coaching session, one of the women said, "I want to control my mind." Now, while I appreciated her shift in focus, I could see the stress and intensity in her expression. That desire to control felt like willpower, and willpower runs out quickly. So I asked her, "Do you want to control your mind, or would you prefer to manage it in a nurturing way?" Just by asking that, the energy shifted. Everyone in the group could feel it. Control feels rigid, and when you're trying to control something, that rebellious part of your brain can kick in. But when you manage it in a nurturing way, it feels more supportive. This small shift in wording can make all the difference in how we approach our goals and challenges. Language matters. The rebellious part of your brain doesn't respond well to the word control. It resists, but when you soften it to manage, you allow space for compassion, flexibility, and growth. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, I want to be honest. There's only so much I can offer you in this one-way conversation. One of my clients recently shared that she loved listening to the podcast, but would fall back into her old habits after a few days. Then she'd feel frustrated and avoid the podcast for a while because it reminded her of what she wasn't able to stick to. But here's the game changer. Since she started working with me one-on-one, she's been able to shift those old patterns and create new, healthier ones. The truth is, real change happens with consistent support. Her family has noticed a difference and have asked her what she's doing. She hadn't shared with them that she had signed up because, one, she knew she really wanted this and didn't want anyone, not in her shoes, to try to talk her out of it. And two, she said she still had a nagging fear that she might fail again. Now she's learning that we don't have to be afraid of failing. And in fact, we're going to fail at something every day, most likely. That's how we become aware, learn, and grow, if we choose to embrace it and take a chance. Having the coaching support makes a huge difference and keeps it from feeling so hard or scary. Having a coach helps you see the sneaky thoughts that are keeping you stuck. I can help you notice those moments when you slip back into autopilot and offer tools that keep you moving forward. We're not aiming for perfection, but progress. And let me clarify something. When you invest in support, you're not sacrificing anything. The word sacrifice feels like a loss, like you're giving something up. Instead, let's think of it as an investment. When you invest in yourself, you're adding value to your life. It's a win, not a loss. Notice the words I used there. Invest, not sacrifice. That's another important distinction. Sacrifice sounds like poor me. Investing sounds like yay me. The energy behind the words we choose can completely change our experience. For example, last week I mentioned that Dr. Trivedi is my mentor, and let me tell you, it's not all fun and games. The work I'm doing requires discipline, consistency, and commitment. Without my weekly coaching sessions, I might still be learning about brain optimization, but I wouldn't be prioritizing it at this level. The investment I've made of time, money, and energy has been worth it because it aligns with my value of serving others at a high level. Sure, I could be spending that time doing something else, maybe more fun, but I don't see it as a sacrifice. I see it as an investment in myself and my mission to serve you. I often have to say no to my friend Lori, who calls or texts me for a walk on one of her PD days. Some days I can join her, and I'll choose to work in the evening so that I can still honor my values of learning and serving in my business while also enjoying social and physical time in nature. That is another example of a nuance in the words I choose. Now, let's talk about some of the benefits of losing weight the feel light mind and body way. 1. You'll learn to speak to yourself differently. 2. You'll understand what triggered overeating and be able to respond to it with kindness and action, not guilt. 3. You'll develop a new way of thinking that's grounded in self-compassion and sustainable habits. 4. You'll stop relying on willpower and start creating automatic, meaningful, and supportive patterns that last. This process is about learning to move forward, even after you stumble. We're not going for perfection here. We're aiming for progress, and that's what will create long-term success. This episode isn't meant to diminish, create shame, blame, or discount what you've said or haven't said. The goal is to consider honestly. Will what you're currently thinking or saying produce the results you want? If you aren't at your most comfortable measurements, clothing size, energy, or healthiest weight, and you are doing these actions now, somewhat regularly, then you will either maintain your current status or watch the numbers slowly creep up simply from the aging process. Make sense? So the most important and empowering question is, do you really want to stay mediocre? Mediocre is safe, but it's not fulfilling. It's a place where things aren't painful, but they're not what they could be. What would happen if you challenged yourself to step out of mediocrity? What if you could be lighter, healthier, and more energetic than you are now? If you're ready to end this year healthier and stronger than you started, it's not too late. Click the link in the show notes and book a free 20-minute session with me. We'll look at where you are and where you want to go. If it's a fit, let's do this. If not, you'll still walk away with clarity and direction, which feels so much better than staying stuck in indecision. Now, do yourself the biggest favor. From love, take at least one action step from what you learned today. Knowledge without application won't give you the results that you desire. Let me know on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever, what you are choosing to do and when. And yes, please leave a podcast review wherever you are listening to this. When people read your words and can see themselves in them, then you are contributing to women empowering other women. And that feels amazing. You just might change or save a life today.